Did we blast off? I didn't even
blasted.
see it. I didn't even see it.
We blasted.
Well, listen, this is going to be a shocker. I'm going to pull the let's introduce our guest first.
What?
Before we get into it. I know. Can you even believe it? Can we get a drum roll? Or like, I don't
wow,
even
that's
know.
so professional of us.
There Will you introduce yourself and tell everyone who you are and what you do?
Yes, I am Cymone Wilder. I am a lettering artist and designer, sometimes known as Simon and Moose on the internet.
Sometimes. How come only sometimes?
I think it just depends on the mood, the vibe. I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
How did we get to Simon and Moose?
Well, I picked it when I was in college, and at that time, everybody was doing like a this and that type of name. And when you're in college and you want to appear like you're a professional, you have to make it seem like there's more than one of you. So
Yes.
I really hooked on to that, but it's a nickname of mine from growing up. And then I took a nickname from my younger brother, who is also a designer, secretly in hopes of getting him on board, but we don't really actually work together.
The whole episode was just planned. It just played out in my head for me because, first of all, I love the nickname and can relate so hard because my brand name was Sugar and Type. And when you Google sugar and type, the first thing that comes up is type 1 diabetes, which feels really...
That's exactly what you were going for, right? You were an ode to type 1 diabetes.
Yes, and depending on when you graduated, you'll probably understand how I came to this conclusion is that I was in graphic design school and I was like, I am so torn because I want to open a cupcake shop as someone who isn't a baker. I love to bake, but I
didn't know this about you.
Yeah, and also I want to be a graphic designer and make it so stinking cute. And cupcakes were having a moment. So I really clung on to that. So yeah, I also
was that when Sprinkles was coming out, the vending machine for cupcakes, and
I think pre that even.
Oh wow, so you were really on the cutting edge.
Yes, as I often am with cutting my hair short, with cupcakes. So I also had an and I more recently, I think I even let the domain expire potentially, or just let the trademark lapse. I feel
that's so funny though that you said that. In college, we tend to feel like we have to be more than one person to be professional.
Yeah.
I think we've all gone through that, and we've all gone through the usage of we, and yes, we'll get together and discuss that. All of us, and me, myself, and I. We posted
on 8 personalities in my head.
We posted a meme of Rihanna at the Super Bowl with all of her dancers in those weird costumes. What were they like? They looked kind of like Michelin men. But they were all dancing together in unison, and we posted this is who we're referring to when we say we when we respond to your emails as a design studio. And we got so many people vibing with that because we've all gone through it. And it's so funny that we think that multiple people equals professionalism, because then when we get older, we're like, oh, that's not a thing. Or at least I think that's where I've landed.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is now I have an agent, and so I am kind of a we, and it is an amazing life having someone do half of the the work with you, but it's not the we that I started out with in my head, so.
The fake we?
Yeah.
The imaginary we. Can you talk a little bit about how that's changed your workflow? And you said someone doing half the work. I think there's a lot of misinformation about what agents are like. And yours is for commercial illustration, I believe. And so that's really different than our experience working with licensing agents. And it sounds like you found the right agent also. And so can you just share what does that process look like? How has it changed your workflow?
And side note, I hope nothing's on fire because I keep seeing smoke wafting past your face.
I am burning incense. Sorry.
I figured. We got vibes going.
Okay, just one.
I always like to keep a little bushfire going in the room with me. So
as long as it's intentional, we're good.
Yeah. My agent has exponentially changed basically everything for me. And I don't know that my agent is maybe the most typical agent out there. And it's life-changing. It's great. It's wonderful. A+. I don't think that I would have done it if I was not bullied into it by a fellow designer. Because to your point about the misinformation, I was like, why would I pay someone a percentage of what I make to do the things I'm already doing for myself? But I got to a project and the contract was just like stupid and long and I didn't know what was going on. And I was like, okay, let me just give this a shot. And so my friend Ade hooked me up with this guy and he's like, just try out a couple projects with him and see what it feels like. And I mean, it's a total game changer, mostly from, oh, I shouldn't say mostly, but a financial standpoint. Like he knows what to ask, which is probably 10 times more than what I was asking for on my own. He handles communication for me, budgets, contracts, scheduling. And so it just takes away all of the pieces of the process that made me feel anxious and like slowed me down. And it just allows me to do the work, which is why we all get into this, is just to like make cool shit and fun stuff and not have to worry about the business side of it. So that is why it's so game changing. Plus, I'm just making like livable wages now instead of
Hey,
$1,000 every 6 months. Yeah.
Yeah, love that for you.
Do you feel like the biggest thing you got from it was almost confidence? Because some of the things you said was like, I don't have to deal with the things that held you back. And it's like, how were you supposed to know what to charge a humongous corporation? Like, how would you know? How would you have the confidence to charge that if you've never done it before? And so I feel like they kind of come in and they're like, I know exactly what to do for this. Like, you focus on your zone of genius and I'll focus on mine. And of course, along the way you learn, but it's almost like they bring that like level of confidence where you can show up and be like, yeah, but this is what we're going to charge. Do you agree with that?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. I mean, I feel like my agent too works with a handful of other artists. So he's seeing, and I'm probably one of the smaller artists on his roster. And so he's seeing kind of that full range from some of the smaller projects that I do to some of the like massive projects that Elisa Congdon or Lauren Hom are doing on a pretty regular basis. So I just think that there's a variety of knowledge that he brings. And he also has a creative background. So before I send files or he sends files to a client, he can be like, yeah, that's cool. Or have you thought about trying this thing as well? Can you set it up this way to sell it better type of thing? So it's nice to have that like extra set of eyes on top of just the expertise that he brings.
And are you bringing in most or all of the clients, or is he bringing some stuff to you? How is that working?
I think for at least the past couple of years, it's mostly been me. I don't even know what it's called, agency, the artist that he represents, he tries to find like collaborative projects for us. So occasionally he'll come to us and be like, hey, Lauren or Lisa or whomever else is working on this, there's an opportunity to bring in another artist, or here's a project where we want 3 or 4 artists. Those are the types of projects he tends to bring, or projects that other artists can't or aren't available to work on type of thing. But I think I'd say probably 75 to 80% of the projects I work on are coming from my connections network, etc.
Okay, cool. I think that's where a lot of people get confused about agents, or like when they should get an agent. I think that just the word agent gets people be like, oh, I'm so excited. Agent equals success, equals pinnacle of yay.
Yeah.
If I get an agent, it'll solve all my problems. But I think you have to be at a certain place in your career and things kind of have to align for that to make sense. And like you said, he handles all that. Like you're bringing in 75-80% of the clients, and then he's handling all the stuff that you really don't love and you don't feel as confident doing. But I mean, there's all sorts of different kinds of agents and different agent relationships. So I think it's just really important to get super clear on like why you want an agent, or if it's just like you think it's a success metric kind of thing, and just be really honest about that. And then just communicate when you're talking to a potential agent about like, this is what I need and this is what I bring to the table. What do you bring to the table? And really communicate about that client piece. Like, are you going to bring me clients? Are you going to manage the clients I bring? I think those things are really important.
Yeah, there's 100 different types of agents. Like you have mentioned, working with licensing agents. Like I don't do a lot of licensing work, and so that makes things a little bit easier. And I think that's what makes Ryan, my agent, the right one for me. There's a million types of agents, a million types of ways to work. I think I like Ryan because he's very flexible. Like I know that no 2 artists on the roster works with him in the same way. So he's very agile and flexible in that way. And I think that he respects my time and like my passions, and is always like looking for work or opportunities that are what I want. And it's not just like, oh, I have a family to support and I need to make money, so I'm going to like push you to do all of the stuff that you don't want to do type of thing. I get to I don't know, he's a good guy, which is hard to find in an agent, coworker, whatever.
I
Well,
love
that's
what
cool
you
that
said
y'all
about
gel so well.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I love what you said about the collaborations too, because I don't think a lot of agents are pushing other artists to work together because it kind of cuts into their bottom line too, and then it takes away from what the artist's getting. It makes it more complicated, and you never know how people are gonna like mesh. As like Katie and I have been working together a long time, so we like have a process for working together, but you never really know what two styles Frankenstein together is going to look like and if it's going to go well or not, and it just adds another layer. But
you
also,
did a collab with Monique Amy, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Which she's
go?
repped by a different agency, so that was like it was interesting in that like we'd get on calls and it would be me and my agent, her and her agent, and then the client, and it's just like this is a lot. And I think I've been on 2 different projects with her.
Stranger
I think
Things
in like
and the beer.
Yeah, so I don't know how that like happened. I think it was just a fluke, but I like her style is like similar enough to mine, but unique in its own way that I think at least on the New Belgium project, like they worked really well together. The Stranger Things was more like individual artists on the same project. So
yeah, I would never confuse your work for each other's. Like I wouldn't be like which one did that or something like that, but I think they just worked really well together because maybe just like vibes, I guess.
How did that process kind of unfold for you with the collabing? Like how did you decide like who was going to do what and how your workflow was going to go? Because I think that's the most difficult thing is like what are the separate parts of us? Like what are each of us doing?
Yeah, so on the New Belgium one, we designed beer glasses. So those 2 pieces were like, we'll both do our own glass. And then the other pieces, we kind of just looked at what we created on the glass as a kit of parts. And we kind of dumped all that in a bucket. And it was just like, we'll both take a stab at designing the other elements using pieces from both of our artwork. And then we'll just kind of choose the one that's working the best or kind of combine whatever. And that's kind of how we work through the rest of the pieces. So, I mean, it ended up being great. Like we both had our own glass, and then I ended up designing the box, and then she designed the t-shirt and I don't even know if the t-shirt ever got made, but there was a t-shirt, a poster, like all of these different pieces. So it felt very balanced. And she's just like a cool person too. So
she is.
That was a very
Shout
easy project. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because Ilana and I have pretty different styles. And so when we started like collabing on art things, we were like, how do we do this? But mostly I think we've kind of settled in like Ilana does the initial concepting and the sketching, and then I do the like finishing and the detail work and stuff. So it's always interesting to see how different people mesh and combine their
I know
vibes.
there's all those like personality tests or enneagrams or like all those things, and like I don't know the first thing about them, but Katie's like the marathon runner and I'm the sprinter.
Not literally, I can't run.
Not at all. Yeah.
But figuratively.
I'm not trying to shame you, but like I know you don't enjoy running. And it's fully in the sense of like how we work is like Katie could work on the same. I could ask her a question and she could literally give me 800 different answers and spend 13 hours conceptualizing on it. Whereas I'm like, okay, this is due tomorrow. Here's 3 awful thumbnail sketches on a paper napkin that I did with my child's in one arm with 3 of my eyes closed and my hands behind my back.
3 of your eyes closed.
You take it from here. And then she does. And so this is like 5 years of us trying to figure out where our strengths are. And yeah, we're like a yin and a yang, but that's not always the case. And when you go into a project collaboratively, you really have no idea what's going to happen. Yeah.
I've also had some bombs with trying to work with other people. I'm not always like, I'm collaborative when I'm given time, but like on the fly, I really struggle with like, I'm not a great improviser. And I also tend to overthink things. So I really get in my head, and sometimes I like withdraw and they're like, let's just rap on it. And I'm like, how about let's not do that? I'll never contribute anything good in that circumstance.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. Like, I don't know that my preference is to be working with other artists on projects very regularly. And I do feel lucky that like the times that I have worked with other people, like it's been chill, but I don't think that like I'm personally seeking that out because I do worry about personality fit, like art, whatever, like two different styles, you'll always find some way that those work together. But when it comes down to it, like the personalities need to fit. And I want to have a good time. I don't want to go into something knowing it's going to be a stinker.
That's a stinker. That's why you have 7 different Cymones who work for you. It's
Mhm.
just Cymone and Cymone, or
Yep.
Simon and Moose. But actually, that's really interesting because we said in the beginning, like how I think we all thought, oh, we should have like employees and grow a big brand. And then we were all like, actually, I would prefer not to do that. And I
Mhm.
remember like when I was hit with that because I had started working with a lot of contractors, not a lot, like 3, and like really consistently, like talking to them every day. And I just remember being like, oh, I am not doing anything fun anymore. And I'm spending a lot of time micromanaging people when I'm supposed to be managing them instead of micromanaging them anyway. And I just sort of said to myself, I think I'd rather just hire the people who need to get hired, or like outsource it, like just send it their way. And that really changed the game for me. But you did mention, and I saw on your website also, that your brother, you've like, he's up and coming, he has a design degree, he wants to do this, and maybe you can kind of pass things his way. But it sounds like you want to find an opportunity or a space to work together, but not necessarily like alongside each other. Can we talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I'm still like very open to the idea of us working together, but if I am very honest, I don't actually even know how good of a designer my brother is. I haven't I know like he has a great design job at a great tech company, so I know that he's like not bad, and we're from the same gene pool, so he's got to be somewhere in the neck of my woods. That was a weird way to say
like
that sentence.
The neck of my woods.
But
I liked it too.
yeah, I'm open to it. I just like, one, I'm his big sister. My grandmother calls me his second mother, so I don't want to like end up momming him on the project.
Yeah.
But I think,
Sibling
I don't know, I think it would be
dynamics.
fun. Yeah, it's definitely, yeah, there's sibling dynamics involved. I think we're both like grown up enough that it's not going to like end in a blow up fight or something like that.
Mhm.
But I want to respect his ability, and so I don't need to like stifle that if it doesn't feel
Well
right.
said. I think that's well said. My sister and I have talked about, she's also a creative, but we are polar opposites in our creativity. My sister's like full on maximalist, and she's a high school ceramics teacher. So if there's
nice.
any sort of hands-on craft, she will knock it right out of the park. And my jaw will be on the floor with amazement. And we've talked about how we could find ways to, mostly me, promote her work. But we always like come up with these cool ideas, and then one of us drops the ball. My sister.
Oh.
And I'm always like, in theory, this would
Boom,
be so
Danielle.
cool. Like, we come from the same blood. We have like so much love and respect for each other. But
You come from the same neck of, wait, what was it? The neck of the
Neck of my woods?
neck of my woods.
I hate it so much. Neck of my woods.
I love it so much.
It just, what is he doing in my woods?
Get out of here. And why are you on
Anyway.
my neck woods?
Katie actually is in the neck of her husband's woods or something.
What?
Yeah.
See, that sounds like an appropriate way to use that.
Yeah, I think
With
it's
your husband.
Sexual, yeah. But we just made it up, so I guess we make the rules.
Why am I in
you make the rules.
my husband's
guys
woods?
Just started working together on your band.
Oh.
And so you're like cross-pollinating your relationship and your creativity. Like a
We're
little bee.
cross-pollinating in each other's wood necks. It's really
woods.
hot.
See?
We have an OnlyFans.
Your handle is Neck of my woods.
Wait, that also
podcast?
sounds like a
Always.
perfume. Neck of my woods.
Mm.
By Colette.
No, by KY.
By
I don't know why we always find a
is
way
hot.
to bring things below the belt on the Typecast. We're really good at it.
I mean, that's
I'm
where
just
things
below the
belong.
belt.
I think it's more fun. I'm gonna 360 the conversation though, because I want to talk
360
about how
brings it right back to the same place. You got a
I'm gonna
180.
180. Okay.
I'm just keeping you in line.
You are. Thank goodness somebody's gotta. I wanted to talk about, well, 2 things. First of all, I wanted to clarify, do you still work a full-time job?
I do. I don't broadcast it a ton. Just when I give talks, I do talk about it because I think it's important to know that like that is an option. But I don't broadcast it so I don't scare clients away from like bigger projects,
Okay,
things like that.
That makes a lot of sense, but I think you're right. And I don't really think clients are listening to this, if we're being honest. This is the Cool Kids Club. I'd like to think it's the Cool Kids Club. But I do think it's important because getting an agent, making a livable wage, like doing all the things you're doing and showcasing your work online, creating a personal brand does not have to be exclusive to working, being fully self-employed. And I'm curious how you view your full-time job, why you have a full-time job, like the good things about it, and also maybe like you said, you don't talk about it that much because you don't want to scare people away. So maybe just a little insight into that.
Yeah, I don't know that like I was in college and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna freelance and have a full time job. I think the goal was always full time job, full stop. And I happened to be freelancing in college to earn extra cash. And when I got my first full time job, the work was not that different from what I was doing in freelance stuff. And it also, at that time, the work I was doing for freelance just wasn't that, it wasn't full time amount of work. So it felt like a pretty easy balance. And I just haven't stopped doing it because freelance up until maybe 3-ish years ago was not enough to live on, like not even remotely. So it wasn't, a lot of people would always ask me like, when are you going to go full-time freelance? And I was like, I don't think you know how little money I am making doing it. So it really wasn't like even an option to consider until a few years ago. And I think at the time when I was starting the job that I have now, I was like, okay, is this the moment that I decide on continuing full time, like 9 to 5 work, or going full time freelance? And I think somebody in an interview said, we don't care if you freelance. So I was like, well, let me just keep having two incomes. And if it comes to a head, that's fine. And I can make a decision one way or the other. But right now it's like my full time job it's not like an 80 hours a week situation. And my freelance, now that I have an agent, is also not this 40 hours a week situation. So it still feels manageable. And I feel like in my brain, I am rationalizing having both as a way to save up enough money to go full-time freelance at some point and feel like comfy cozy about it. That was a really long, convoluted way of
great.
saying, yeah.
It's so smart. And I think people might feel pressured to rush into full-time freelance before they're actually ready or before they're in a financial place that's going to support them the way that they need to, just because of the like glitter and the glam. That is not actually a thing. Once you
and glam.
Well, that's what I'm
glitter?
saying.
Okay.
No, but you think it's glitter and
You
glam
do.
from the other side. You're like, oh, look at these freelance lives. And
Yeah.
there's some great things about it.
Yeah,
I mean,
there is some glitter.
there's
both.
a little glitter when you get to like take your dog to the dog park at like 11:30, and like you get to make your own decisions about your schedule to some extent. But yeah, I mean, when I went to lettering conference this one time, everybody was like introducing themselves, and it was like, are you a full-time letterer? And then people would be like, no, I still have a 9 to 5, as if they were like ashamed to say that when
Yeah.
it's just such an interesting like perception versus reality kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I like honestly, a big part of having a full-time job is that as soon as I sign on to this full-time job, I automatically have benefits. Like it's not this whole like rigmarole trying to figure all this stuff out. Like I have them, period. And it's not like confusing or weird. And to me, that is probably like the biggest hurdle holding me back. Like obviously those are things I can figure out. It might take a second, but to not have to like worry about it at all, it's pretty great.
Gosh, yeah. No, it is super overwhelming to like dive into that world, and nobody prepares you for it. Nobody's like, here's the way to get all the things that you need for yourself, like health insurance and like how to pay your self-employment taxes, and you're like, nobody prepares you for that. So you just have to dive into the deep end, and if you don't have to face that, like ride that wave, you know?
Yeah.
I do want to share one resource, because even filing your taxes, it can be confusing. And figuring out insurance, like even the government doesn't make it easy for you. They're not like, just click here. They're like, you need 8 different logins.
Even the government.
I was going to say, that's kind of their thing.
Basically,
yeah, they're kind of known for being
Freelancers
really
Union,
confusing.
Freelancers Union is a great place where you can get a lot of simple. But I do think the way, ever since the pandemic started, I think that the way people work has changed. So there is some more glitter about having remote jobs. But obviously it's totally different. Working for yourself full time is not for everyone. And I actually really, really admire the people who say, I have a full time job and I do this on the side. Like, if I was to come home after working 40 hours and then work another job at this point in my life for fun, like, I just like can't even. I did that before I had kids.
Yeah.
And now I'm so tired all the time. And I love my kids dearly, but you've got to be so passionate about what you're doing. And I miss that spark. And I think sometimes when you work for yourself and you take your creative hobby and your passion and then you turn it into your full-time gig, you lose some of that. And I'm not like trying to shit on what we do, but Katie and I have been in like an admin, I can't remember which phrase goes for which, but we've been like working in the business for so long that we haven't worked on the business or vice versa. And that's like something we signed up to do. We're like, okay, for a little bit, we're going to not be pursuing our passion because we have to do the actual part of the work that supports us doing that.
Yeah.
And that's a really conscious choice to make. And it is not for everyone. And if you are someone who struggles with self-motivation, it's going to be pretty challenging for you. Thankfully, I love to give myself a good kick in the ass or wait till the last minute and figure it out in 20 seconds. So it's just not for everyone. And I love what you're saying about how you're not advertising it, but it works for you right now. And maybe one day it won't, and you'll figure that out when it comes. It also sounds like the work you're doing at your full-time job probably doesn't compete with the work you're doing for fun, because the work you're doing for fun is full of so much soul and character and storytelling. And I would imagine you're not doing the same things at a full-time corporate job.
Oh no, the full-time job is sucking my soul away, and the freelance is bringing that soul. Yeah, I mean, I will say my job is remote, which makes this quite a bit easier. And I have great leaders who are like, hey, when you get your work done, you don't need to just sit on your computer for the rest of the day. Like, go live your life. Yeah, which
I still
technically the work is never done, but like, I always say I don't want to toot my own horn, but like, I'm a fast designer. Like, I can really shit some stuff out very quickly. I think I said that on a meeting call yesterday. Like, it's fine, I'll shit it out. But then that, like, I can shit the things out at work, and then I still have X amount of hours left in the day to do freelance. So, like, in theory, I'm not really doing a lot. I'm not doing like 80 hours a week, period, on both of them combined, which I think a lot of people, like, every time I post a new project, people are like, when do you sleep? I'm like, I sleep a beautiful 8.5 hours every single day. I protect my time at night for the most part. Occasionally I'm working on the weekends, but it's never like more than like 6 hours in a day. So I don't think that balance is like available to everybody to like have a chill full-time job and the freelance, but right now that's how it is.
If we had sound bites, I would put in like a round of applause for you right now. Also, I have said like so many times in this episode. It's because I'm so tired. I don't like it though. Oh, there it is again. Anyway, I want to hear about some sleep habits, but I'm also curious, that mindset that you just shared, did that come naturally to you to say, I'm not going to hustle all day at work and then hustle all night? Or was that the like perfect storm? Oh God.
Did you have to go through a burnout to get to this point?
Thank you.
Which I feel like I saw you talk about a burnout back down in your socials.
Yeah, I think I probably, every time I like post a picture of myself, I always like to just talk about what's been going on in life for a second. And I think every time it's been like, oh, I'm super burned out right now, which is like every, relatable. 6 months or something. Mm-hmm. But yeah, when I first got out of school and I was doing the both sides of the work thing, it was very much like working until 10 o'clock every night. Yeah. And that it's just not sustainable. Like, my mental health deserves so much better. My physical health deserves so much better. So sleep, I will say, sleep has always been like top priority, because I'm kind of not the nicest person when I am not rested. So I'm trying to like protect myself and everybody else around me by getting good sleep. Like in college, I don't think I've ever pulled an all-nighter. I don't plan to. Like, nighttime is just not for that. Like, that's a morning brain. Like, if I do need to like put in extra hours in the day, I just get up early and do it, but I don't mess with the sleep. Yeah.
Good for you.
College and my program was very much like, as much as I loved my program and I like very much appreciate my degree and all my professors, there was like a culture of all-nighters. It was like, you can't not do it. And I think I heard, I haven't like officially confirmed, but they like our first project when we were officially accepted into the major or whatever was like so intense that we got it on like a Friday and we worked on it nonstop with no sleep all the way until it was due on Monday morning. I think they put a stop to it because they called it hazing, but it was like supposed to show us like this is the kind of intensity we want to see. And
But that's not real world.
I mean,
Well,
there
I
are
think
jobs that are like that, but you don't have to,
No.
like, it's weird to be instilling that as
Yeah,
the
and
precedent
I think
in
that's
college.
what they were priming us for, because that was and still is the way that like a lot of ad agencies function, especially where they just like want you to be there until all hours of the morning, and like if you
Okay.
leave or at any realistic time, I'm saying this is not a
I
healthy
know,
way,
no,
but that's like
I
how
agree.
they kind of trained us almost.
Here's my question though. What are we doing at an ad agency that is so important that we should, I mean, I get it if you need to stay late a couple nights a week, or like maybe on a weekend you need to go in for 2 hours to fix something. I get it. If you didn't get your work done, I get it. But what are we doing that is so important that we would need to sacrifice that much of our well-being?
Yeah, it's just
And
poor
I did-
planning.
Literally ad. It's
Yeah.
I did
literally
an
advertising.
internship at an agency in Dallas during school, and they had us stay until like
No.
2 in the morning a couple of times.
The
and I
thing
was
is, I
like,
would have done
it was like a whole thing, and it was everybody was there for that long.
Right.
It was like
I
a
would have done
regular
it.
thing.
Yeah.
And I would have been, yeah, like, you know, we got this.
No,
we're
I was very
hustlers.
much like in it. I was like, okay,
Right.
this is like we're a team. We're just like working on this thing. But now I'm like, whoa, that's crazy talk.
I was
get
at a
it's
job
weird.
a couple jobs ago where it was an in-house job, and I had been there for 3 years, and it was chill, not chill, but like we worked hard, but it was a 9 to 5, and that was that. And then we got a new like chief creative officer who came from agency world, and he was like, okay, we're going to switch things up, and we're going to, create this great campaign, and we're all going to stay late together. And I was like, no. We've been functioning just fine for the last, like, I'm all about like doing things in a new way, in the right way, whatever. But if we have been working in a typical in-house environment for the last 3 years, you cannot come in and be like, all of a sudden, we're going to just smash some timelines and have everybody stay late. That just doesn't make sense. And also, I don't like it when people tell me what to do.
Yeah. I think there's something to be said about kind of paying your dues where you have to learn the ropes. It's not that you have to bust ass and do things that are not fit for stability, I guess. But I also understand that when you're new and young, you have to do things that maybe the shit work. Like maybe you have to stand by the printer and hang everything on the wall, or do things that not everyone wants to do, because your part of your job is to help the people who have been where you are. But I just think the degree of which you do that needs to be cut back. And also, I work hard, play hard. At 5:00, I'm going to go play. So no, back off. Wow, I just got so in my head. I got so heated about it. Anyway, one of the things you said, one of the things you said was that you used to be a runner and now you're a cycle lady, and that's really had an impact on your life. Can you share how you decided to become a cycle lady and what it does for you? I mean, Katie and I are both gym girlies, and I go every single morning. I get up at 5:15 in the morning. It's awful, but I love it. And it truly, the days if I skip a day, I feel like garbage.
Yeah, I basically just had like a health kick in, I think, 2019. I lost a lot of weight very quickly. I don't know if I would recommend my methods to anybody. Like, it was really just like work out a lot, not eat a ton. And it was great for my mental health, just having something consistent to start my day. And I didn't even like set out to become a runner. It was just like, running is like the easiest thing to do. You just do the same thing over and over and over again.
You.
Well, it's not like, if you're at the gym and you're doing strength training, it's like, okay, I have to track how many reps and sets and different muscle groups and all of these different things, where running is just like, you get out, you just do the same motion over and over. So that just felt easy. It was great to, I don't know, just like get out of my head. And I mean, more than anything, I think running is just a mental practice, because we all can run. It's just getting over like the mental hurdles. And to me, that was like the hardest part and the most rewarding to be able to do that. So I did that for a few years. I don't know, pandemic stuff happened, and just like so many different things happened and just kind of threw that out of whack for me. But this past year, I was like, well, let me just get a bike, try that thing, and it's great. I love it. At one point I was doing both every morning. Would like go for a 30-minute run and then go for an hour-long bike ride. But now I'm tired, so I just cycle.
I love that. I think we all have to find what works for us. And it really does have such an impact. It's hard to get started for people who have been like, yeah, I
Yes.
should do it. Yeah, Katie can talk more about that. Going
I
on
mean,
with
it's hard to get started for people like me every morning.
Yeah.
It feels hard to
Right.
get started, but yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
It's hard.
All right, well, good for you. I love that for you.
Honestly,
One-
too, I just
yeah.
want to mention about the "it feels so good" thing. Everybody kept telling me, like, once you start exercising, it'll feel so good. And I would try various times throughout my life to start an exercising routine. And I would be like, these people are freaking lying. Or just like, this must not work for me. And it took me like multiple months of finally, like, once I finally got into my stride, it took me multiple months before I actually felt what they were talking about. And it's not like I feel great when I'm doing it. I'm like, oh, this is really freaking hard. But
Yeah.
afterwards, I'm like super proud of myself. And then I get the endorphin release after. And then, yeah. So I just, for anybody who's struggling and thinks that people are lying, give yourself a really good chunk of time and see.
Yeah, just like with anything.
Yeah, totally. Like, you can't just try something and then write it off instantly as like it doesn't work, you know,
Yeah.
because that's what I did time and time again. And I was like, what the hell are they talking about?
Right. Hopefully this isn't too far-fetched. I think I can spin this to where I wanted it to go. I think I can manipulate what you just said. No, it's this consistency. And I think since I've been following your work, I don't know, 5 years or so, and since before the days of Good Type or our days at Good Type, and I've always really loved how you balance this like crisp style with the gritty. And I know you've talked about how you take something that's perfect, and that's probably from your training and your experience working in the industry, and then kind of mess it up. And I think that's sort of like that consistency and that showing up. It has made me be able to recognize your style and your vibe from afar. And I'm just curious if that was something that was intentional or if that took practice. Like Katie was saying, the more she did it, the more it came natural and the more good it felt. And it seems like you've given yourself a space to be able to leave room for experimentation and play within your work so it can evolve over time while still feeling really identifiable as your style. Do you have any, is this just how it's always been for you? Woke up like this?
Yeah, I woke up perfect, 10 out of 10. Didn't have to change a thing about myself. No, I think this is probably more a fault than like good skill, but I'm just ritual is maybe too strong of a word, but I am a consistent personality. Like if I say I'm going to show up to do a thing, I'm going to show up and do the thing, or I'm going to do it every day. Like I just can't not do that. And I think that that's the best skill. Like you can be the worst letterer and you can be just naturally untalented at lettering, but if you show up every day, unfortunately, you will get better. Or fortunately, you might get better. Yeah, unfortunately, you're going to just get better. But like when people ask me for recommendations, it's like, I don't know that like I've opened up a lot of lettering books and taken a ton of classes or anything. I just practiced, which I know is like the most annoying advice you can give to somebody. Is just like, just keep practicing. Practice makes perfect. Yeah, but yeah, it's the worst part of being an adult is that it's true. Practice is just good. And I don't know that like when I started my career, I was like, I'm going to just get so good and then just make it shitty after that because I will have mastered the fundamentals or something. It's just, I think there was a long time where I was just like, I need to get good enough to understand the parts and pieces of letter forms, and I need to be able to understand where I can break the rules in a way that still works and it's not just like shitty work, which I don't think that I have like mastered it so much that I know all of the places where I can break the rules, but I feel comfortable enough that I am starting to do that now more and feeling good about that. Although I mean, even now, I'm like, do people just see my stuff and it's just like, she's just making block letters and there's no like, like every now and then I'm like, is this good? Or is this just things that people like?
I think that's the plight of an artist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So
what it means to be creative. Is
Yeah.
I don't know if this is
I
any
think
good.
I think when people hear practice though, they get a little bit scared because it sounds like drills or like boring.
Yeah. I'm not like just drawing the same line 100 times and being like, okay, I got that. Now I'm on to the next thing, you know?
I mean, some calligraphers especially will like do that kind of thing.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
that's
yeah.
not what excites me about practicing. So I just wanted to clarify that practice is like making cool art and like making full pieces. And then as you're doing it, you're like, oh, this K feels kind of weird.
Mhm.
What's off about it? And then like figuring it out by doing. So yeah, practice is just existing, making stuff you're excited about, and then you gradually get better.
Yeah, well, and it's like I'm making things in the same style over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And I think when I do that, there's never like a moment where it's like, okay, I'm going to just switch styles. I'm going to do this style over and over again, and it's going to slowly evolve into a different style, or I'm going to start to see trends that I can pick up and use in other ways. So yeah, I think making like full pieces over and over again is a great way to practice. It's not like doing drills and having little spreadsheets and all of this stuff. Like, make it work for you.
Yeah, totally. Practice is what you want it to be. But like lean into the stuff that's fun and just pay attention as you're doing it. I think just like observe is the best advice.
I love that. I would actually really like to continue this conversation, but for the sake of our listeners' ears, I want to end with, I really wanted to talk about your merch line, but can you just share where people can find that? And then maybe next time we have you on, we can talk more about the process of making merch, and then I'll end with a different question.
Yeah, I say this in almost a whisper, but there's a shop link on my website because I haven't really been keeping track of the inventory and I don't really know how much I have there.
I like it.
But
I like it a lot. And
yeah, I've got a couple merch pieces out there. If you want them, you can grab the last ones.
You can empty out my storage.
Yeah.
I wanted to just wrap up with, I like to ask most of our guests this, but what are 2 purchases or items or things around you that you've recently been obsessed with, basically, that have nothing to do with, or they could have something to do with your work, but they don't have to be like design centric. The thing I always use, it could be an audiobook, it could be a new set of dish towels. I don't know. Katie always
I just want to know about you,
you
know, outside of
influence.
Just this.
Well, the crazy thing is it is an audiobook and a set of dish towels. That's so crazy that you know that.
Stop it. Stop it.
No, I don't read books. I don't read books. That's crazy. Okay, this is dumb, but I did purchase a 2-foot long paper mache hot dog.
Love it. Need the link.
I was getting more and more excited as that went on.
It could have been anything. It could have been anything. Yeah, I think that the hot dog is a big one. I'm just like looking around.
Just as decor in your home.
Yeah. I think that's kind of like my sweet spot. I know that like I've got a lot of people who encourage me to like travel so you can take care of your mental health and all this stuff. And it's like, I prefer to spend my money on like cool house things because that's where I like to spend my time. So it's always like, how can I improve my home?
Hot dogs.
Yeah. 2-foot long hot dog for sure.
I really genuinely am going to need the link for that.
So yeah.
I can't wait for that. I did buy my daughter hair clips. I'll put the link to the hair clips I got her, which she won't wear. So they're mine now. She's 3, which explains
smart
everything. But one's a hot dog and one's a corn dog.
Yep.
Good.
It doesn't get better than that. If I could have a 2-foot long corn dog paper mache, I'd probably honestly I might ask her to make me one.
It isn't as visually appealing as a hot dog though. Like a corn dog is just,
it's a brown log with a stick in it.
Yeah. I have a shirt that I wear every 4th of July that's just like wall to wall hot dogs front to back, like it's fully covered, and on the front they all have ketchup and on the back they all have mustard.
Whoa. That's ballsy to put the ketchup on the front.
Yeah, it's a statement.
Where are you from?
Picture?
Austin, Texas.
Do they put ketchup on the hot dogs in Austin?
Yeah.
Do people not put ketchup on hot dogs?
Is Nashville
I don't eat hot dogs.
Well, I
can't first or
not Nashville, but Chicago, which is the big city close to where I was from.
Oh, okay, got it.
But yeah, very anti-ketchup on the dog.
Oh,
Well, let's have a
My
fight.
daughter
Let's do
eats ketchup by the spoonful, so she would not like sugar at all,
Wow.
I guess.
Damn. I mean, she
Okay,
could
what's
still
your
have the
second
ketchup
thing?
by a spoonful. I would never stop
Not on
that.
the hot sauce.
Yeah.
Before we get too deep in the dogs, what's your
Yeah.
second thing?
This is not like one thing, but I've been painting a lot lately, and I've been
Mm.
trying to find like dumber and dumber canvases to paint on. So I just made this like shitty cube out of a bunch of scrap wood that I'm gonna use as a canvas. So
Nice.
I guess that's the thing. I'm
Dumber
just
and
like
dumb.
staring at this dumb cube in my house, and I'm like, I can't believe I spent time and made that. But here we are.
Here we are.
No.
Okay, where can people follow you, buy the last of your inventory of your merch, and follow along with your work?
Simon and Moose, wherever a handle works.
I love that.
Well, probably not. I guess Twitter's not a thing, so I don't have as many options. But Instagram, Pinterest, if you want to follow, like, I don't know what's going on over there. And then simonandmoose.com is my website. You can see my work, buy my things, all that.
Amazing.
You have such a calming presence. I'm so glad you came on the show.
Yes, thank you for having
Yes,
me.
thank you for chatting with us about all things hot dogs and neck of my woods and etc.
Yes.
Okay, all good things.